Good morning. We're back to our study in Psalms, and we're going to be in Psalm 32 this morning. Um, I read this quickly, pick out a couple thoughts. It's one of these Psalms, though, that I think you should return to. It's beautiful, it's very comprehensive, it leads you somewhere. So, can I encourage you to take some time with the Psalm even after we're finished? Psalm 32, I'll read it for you now. Blessed is the one whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are covered. Blessed is the one whose sin the Lord does not count against them, and whose spirit is no deceit. When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy on me. My strength was sapped as in the heat of summer. Then I acknowledged my sin to you and did not cover up my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the guilt of my sin. Therefore let all the faithful pray to you, while you may be found. Surely the rising of the mighty waters will not reach them. You are my hiding place. You will protect me from trouble and surround me with songs of deliverance. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you. Do not be like the horse or the mule, which have no understanding, but must be controlled by bit and bridle, or they will not come to you. Many are the woes of the wicked, but the Lord's unfailing love surrounds the one who trusts him. Rejoice in the Lord and be glad, you righteous. Sing, all you who are upright in heart. One of the gifts that we have in our faith is confession. It's strange, yes, a strange thing to think about confession as a gift. But um, in one way, you could see it this way. We are all prone to live ways that are obtuse to the ways of the Lord, that are cross current, that go in a different direction. And when we do that, life yields the worst results. Confession is a moment of honesty where we recognize that we've gone the wrong direction. We recognize that the fruit of our life is not good fruit. We recognize that we have actually harmed ourselves or others. And so we come to God and we say, Lord, this is true about me. Now, in this life, you and I have been taught very well to never admit the truth about our lives. The Christian church is supposed to be a different kind of place. Certainly in interaction with God's and in Christian community, we're supposed to be honest about our lives, our struggles. And here we see that when we keep silent, um, when we don't acknowledge reality, when we don't turn to God for forgiveness and for healing and to redirect us, we suffer. I think it's true. Now, you and I are tempted to always think about the most overt sins when we think about confession, but I often think in this regard that perhaps the most profitable way to think about it is a friend of mine used to say, I live as a functional deist, which means I live as if God doesn't really do things in the world. I live as if God's not really there. I live as if God is not part of my life. And so he would find himself after a whole day thinking, have I turned to God once? Have I referred to God? Have I thought about God even once? That might be our greatest sin, is to live in ways in which we just don't acknowledge God. So sometimes confession is just like, Lord, um, we can admit our failures, our weaknesses, our fears, our apprehensions, our overt mistakes, and then sometimes just a lifestyle that seems to largely live in ignorance of Him. Whatever it is, we confess it and say, God, I come to you now and ask for forgiveness. Now, the promise here is pretty beautiful. Uh, this psalmist went through that process and he felt forgiven. He felt free of it. And then he instructs the congregation, hey, faithful, I've gone through this. Can I encourage you to go through the same thing? Because it protects us when there's chaos, when there's threat, when we're with God in this life, and when we're honest to God, and when He forgives us. Like we're protected, we're hidden, we're in the hiding place. We're given songs of deliverance. I'll just conclude by saying that um, in this time, make it a daily thing that you go to God and just spend some time in quiet, maybe even this morning, and just settle and then be honest with Him. He already knows. You can completely trust Him. See if you can come into that settled place, the same thing where he felt, the psalmist, forgiven and freed and hidden in God and given a song of deliverance. Maybe God will do that work for you today. Grace and peace to you.